Welcome back. Now, Johannesburg and its surrounds are battling severe water cuts. This as the water crisis has scaled up dramatically in recent weeks. This weekend, a significant number of Johannesburg residents have reported low pressure to no water. For more on this, I am joined live now by water expert Professor Anthony Turton. Thank you so much for your time, Prof. We do appreciate it. I just cannot believe that we have these problems in 2023, especially because we have been told that our dams are full. What do you think is contributing to the fact that especially the Gauteng province is unable to provide water to residents?
Yes, good evening to you and the listeners. This problem has been a long way coming and it is now upon us. We are seeing institutional failure of the three major metros in the Gauteng area, all of which are approximately 100 billion rand behind in their capital upgrade. So 100 billion rand shortfall in what is required of them to fix their broken infrastructure. And on top of that, we've got a similar situation with Rand Water that supplies all three of them. That's about 36 billion rand in the whole. So the question is, we're talking about 130 odd billion, almost 140 billion rand. These are big numbers. And where's this money going to come from in a flatlining economy where large numbers of people are unemployed and the job creation is under severe pressure? So basically, the bottom line is this: we are seeing systematic institutional failure. And I'll just link up with your previous interview about the inability to self-correct. We are seeing now visible, tangible evidence of the inability of the municipalities, what I call an organ of government, a specific organ of government is unable to self-correct. And in fact, we're very fast getting to a point now where there's going to have to be some kind of external intervention. The minister has tried to intervene in that he has now proposed this concept of water shifting as an intervention. That is only going to be a very, very short-term band-aid over the problem. It's not going to solve the problem. We need to understand the absolute core drivers of this problem if we are going to avert a major crisis coming forward.
But, you know, Prof, you speak about the fact that the minister tried to intervene, and I was actually there when he called for a meeting, especially with residents of the south that have been severely affected because of that reservoir that seems to have some sort of crack in it and has been decommissioned. Is it not the responsibility of city officials to first handle the matter and try and get water to people? And if they cannot handle it, then escalate it to the minister? Why does the minister first have to intervene? Now, I don't want this conversation to turn political, but surely there's an issue here about how municipalities are run, especially in the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, you're entirely correct. It's not a ministerial role at all. In fact, the minister has got nothing to do with this matter. The Constitution expressly forbids any organ of state from intervening in any other organ of state. So, in other words, the minister is there as a last resort. And that is an indication of the fact that the systems are unable to self-correct. These things are very, very complex. And, when you start talking about one reservoir that is cracked, well, one reservoir is a tiny part of a very, very complex and integrated system. Just recently, there were reports of a high-pressure pipeline that has been left unfixed in Pretoria area, close to that main UNISA campus. That's been going like that for months, if not for years. And, this is the excuse there is that the municipality doesn't have the resources to fix it, so they simply leave it. And now I'm also getting reports coming through my network that attempts to repair these things are being undermined by criminal elements. Some of the repair vehicles are coming under attack and being burnt. So, in other words, there is something happening out there that is quite sinister and quite serious. And we get back to the nub of what I'm saying here, the inability to self-correct. Neither of the three metros, that's Ekurhuleni, that's Tshwane and Johannesburg, have the ability right now to self-correct. And therefore, what they are doing is they are blaming Rand Water, and it's not a Rand Water problem. They haven't caused the fact that 50% of the water that they supply to the different metros is lost within the metro system. And Rand Water has got nothing to do with the fact that Johannesburg has got only 5 years of remaining useful life in significant parts of its infrastructure. So these are crises that have been brought upon over a period of time, slow incremental crises of underspending, of incorrect definition of the problem. And now suddenly you get this cumulative impact. One thing impacts another. One domino falls, it affects another domino. And this is where we are now. We're in that position of runaway dominoes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me that, a department of like water and sanitation would underspend and not actually tackle infrastructure challenges. I mean, water is life. We cannot be in a situation where we don't have water and electricity, because that seems where we are heading. Just in closing, Professor, I want to ask you about the issue here. It seems as though there's a huge blame game happening between Joburg Water and Rand Water. So there's been a number of briefings where Joburg Water says, well, Rand Water's had some issues. Rand Water comes out and says our systems are fully pumping. We're actually over pumping to deal with the demand. Joburg Water says, well, it's actually got to do with the fact that it's spring now and people are using a lot more water, like it's the first time we've ever had spring. I keep saying this, but what do you think is the actual problem here? Do you think Joburg Water is just unable to deal with the challenges here?
The core problem is that we're misdiagnosing the problem. There's never been a correct analysis of the problem. Whenever there's an engineering failure in the real world, in the normal world, in the world outside of South Africa, wherever there's an engineering failure, there's a thing called a root cause analysis that's done. So you want to know what caused that failure to happen. South Africa spends billions and billions of rand without ever doing a root cause analysis. So we don't know what has caused the failure here. Therefore, we continue to go down the route of additional failure. So we've got misdiagnosed problems to which we apply inappropriate solutions. So that's my prognosis. Misdiagnosed problems, inappropriate solutions, because we've misdiagnosed those problems. The bottom line is this, that the infrastructure is aging. It happens to every city everywhere in the world, and every city everywhere else outside of South Africa gets ahead of the curve by having technically competent people in place, making proper decisions in functioning institutions. We've got none of those. We don't have technically competent people. We've got inappropriate institutions that are failing. We've got poor communication. And of course, into this mix, we've now got this whole procurement fiasco where the procurement budgets have been hijacked for all sorts of patronage purposes. That is the root cause analysis of all of this. And until such time as those things are fixed up, I'm afraid to say that Johannesburg Water has failed. It's not going to fail. It has failed. Ekurhuleni is fast approaching that, and Tshwane is fast approaching that. But nothing to do with Rand Water, but Rand Water will also ultimately fail. So why? Because those three metros are not paying the money that they owe to Rand Water. And therefore, ultimately, their failure is putting enormous stress on Rand Water. So we're talking here about, well, let's call it 40% of the population of South Africa. We're talking here about 60% of the economic output of the country. This is very, very serious stuff we're talking about.
Absolutely. Just very quickly, in 30 seconds, Prof, do you think that the country is heading into water shedding like it started the same way with load shedding, where the electricity would stop for a few hours and we all thought, oh, well, it doesn't matter. And now we're seeing the same with water. Do you think we're going to have the same problem?
Well, we are already having it. It's the official policy. The official policy is now water shifting, they're calling it, not just to get away from the word water shedding. So to answer your question, we are already there. It is the official policy at this moment in time. And all this does is it robs Peter to pay Paul. And at best, it can maybe keep some of the angry people a little bit calmer for a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah, very concerning. Thank you so much for your insights. We do appreciate it. That is, of course, Professor Anthony Turton, who is a water expert.